So moving on um, to the last part of our session, meet our next speaker, who's known as technology alchemist, an innovator at the edge of the impossible. She is impact strategy catalyst at Input Output, the developer arm of Cardano blockchain. Cardano blockchain, and she is founder and president of the Impact Institute for the Digital Economy. She has held 2 prestigious research chairs and founded 2 research labs, leading numerous international research consortia. Let's welcome Mihaela Ulieru to be our speaker at Fireside Chat with Ernesto van Peborgh. Mihaela, all yours.
Thank you so much for this glowing introduction, and thank you again for the opportunity to address this esteemed audience. What a marathon, really! Of blockchain and artificial intelligence innovation, my heart is really pumped up. I mean, from the beginning, when Radhika's keynote, made us aware of the values embedded in blockchain, then going through, for me, what stuck was also the panel on social impact. Obviously, this is my passion and the focus of my work. And on the other side, the last session, wow. I mean, just, my imagination is going into those futures in which I can experiment with like-minded people to design a better world. It's phenomenal. The purpose of this closing fireside chat is to give maybe some hope that we can do that faster, that we can change the world. We the blockchain revolutionaries are here to make the world better in the first place. And maybe one way to do that is through what I call regenerative finance. I have with me Ernesto, who is a trailblazer in this regard. So he is the founder of RegenDesigners, which aims to catalyze the transformation of the economic and financial system in alignment with the principles of living systems. And of course, he will share with us how that kind of alignment is poised to support the radical shift which we need in order to change the world. He is also an author, and actually a pioneering author, which posed very difficult problems in very early times. For example, he wrote in 2007 Sustainability 2.0, in which he was looking exactly at the kind of .1 version of the metaverse, the role of the social media to catalyze positive action. And I was, at that time, I was holding the research chair in e-society and experimenting with new social media, which was just like kind of babies on the block, and with so much hope that we're gonna actually crack that nut and bring the collective intelligence power through social media. However, this has taken an unfortunate turn in the meantime, and of course our session will address that as well. Then Ernesto went on to write about the network effects, which were also mentioned in the metaverse, obviously. So the Web 2.0 network effects. So can we actually harness the knowledge commons through the metaverse? I think that would be kind of coining the question here. And his last book was addressing the individual. It's called Homo Hacker. I mean, in order to actually change the world, we need to change ourselves first. Are we able to transcend our limitations and embrace new behavior and the new values which Radhika featured in the initial keynote, and by setting the stage of this amazing marathon of innovation? But before this, I would like to present and actually to pose the situation where we are now, if you allow me to share my screen. So we are actually in a meta crisis. And why in a meta crisis? Because this is a combination of crises. It's a wicked problem because it's a situation in which we have many symptoms, but we actually do not know, we cannot identify the causes. The causes are dynamic. So we can see the effects, yes, polarization, people getting at odds with each other, pandemics, ocean dead zones, pollution, and so on and so forth, climate change, global warming. But we cannot point to one cause because these causes are dynamic, and that's why we call them generator functions. So they, range from this rival rows dynamics, which comes from our grid, which was alluded to in the last session when one of the speakers mentioned about the human nature, which, by the way, we have to transcend. We like to own, yes, and I like to own over my fellow human. So why not I possess something? And then, of course, those who design the current metaverses can play us based on those grids, but can we actually manage the commons together without this rival, by transcending the rival roles dynamics? And then we have, of course, the degradation of the environment because we cannot manage the commons together yet. And we have the effects of exponential tech, which is accelerating the disaster and the meta crisis. So my, of course, observations, yes, are that when we will get there at the tipping point with the meta crisis, if we do not stop it now, and I'm hoping that my co-panelist, or actually Ernesto, yes, my peer, I would call it here, will be able to give us even more hope and show us a way. So we can either degenerate into chaos or into dictatorship. But if we can crack that nut, which I was mentioning, of collective intelligence, and enhance global coordination in the metaverse and harness that and catalyze that positive action, then definitely we can hope for an open digital society through technologies, through the very innovations which have been presented here today. Blockchain accountability, ethically harnessing AI for healthcare, as in the session where Ben Goertzel was talking about Singularity Net, or for everything else, as well as personalized digital learning. So education is a very important factor. I just wanted to acknowledge that this diagram is from the work which is done at the Consilience Project, where I'm an advisor. And it sums up the work of Daniel Schmachtenberger, who I strongly suggest that you have a look at. So Ernesto, in order to start our conversation, I would like to ask you, actually, what would be the principles that we have to follow in order to follow the living systems, as your book, Sustainability 2.0, mentioned?
Great. Thank you, and thank you for that introduction. Let me state that sustainability is an outcome of a regeneration process. And regeneration is aligned with certain defined patterns and principles of living systems. John Fullerton, in his work on regenerative capitalism and regenerative finance, created this simple version of the principles. View wealth holistically, in right relationship, seeking balance, innovative, adaptive, and responsive, honoring community and place, robust circulation, and edge effect abundance. And I won't enter into each one, but if you put the interaction, the systemic interaction of those principles together, what you obtain is living ecosystems. And those principles, if applied to social, cultural, economic communities, or even to our civilization, that is what is going to bring sustainability to our world. Unless we do not align ourselves with the patterns and principles of living systems that ancient wisdom so were aligned with them, there is no solution. What is incredible, if you take the patterns and principles of open source and you overlap them with the patterns and principles of living system, there is a beautiful connection. Both look for holistic improvement. Both are have empowered participation and collaboration. So what is happening now is this emergence of this new consciousness that is bringing together this ancient wisdom aligned with the patterns and principles of living systems with the philosophy of this technology that evolved into open source and now into blockchain.
Absolutely, absolutely. And you know, this ancient wisdom reminds me of actually an ancient proverb which says, "We did not inherit the earth from our ancestors. We have borrowed it from our children." So whatever we do, every action that we are doing has to come from that space. What do we leave to them to inherit from us? So this comes with that kind of accountability. And you know, I would like to deepen a bit the conversation into the systemic aspect, yes, not only of the crisis, but also of this interdependence of principles that, you know, and of course, not only in explaining the meta crisis, the interdependence of principles, and maybe if you can touch a bit, but probably that should be the next question on how we have to change in order to embrace those principles.
Okay. Embracing regeneration is understanding that we need to start by ourselves. What does it mean to become a regenerative human? What does it mean to regenerate yourself, align yourself with his principles? And it's basically relational. And I think what these new technologies bring is these trustful relationships. And probably the question is, what is beyond trust? What blockchain has brought is this decentralization of trust, right? Now we trust a protocol. We are not trusting centralized hubs or organizations or institutions. But the question is, what is beyond trust? And I think what is beyond trust is the decrease of entropy. As trust increases, entropy decreases, and syntropy comes into balance. And syntropy is a beautiful word. It's, for me, it's a loving force that comes from the future. We have ancient wisdom that is guiding us in the principles of living systems, but syntropy is the different ways that we are going to approach this adjacent possible, the meta crisis, right? Yes. There is a moment now in humanity where syntropy and entropy are coming together, right, to bridge this transition between two paradigms. And what trust brings is the decrease of entropy is the decrease of scarcity. The paradigm of scarcity is collapsing to give possibility to the paradigm of abundance. And this is where regeneration occurs. This is where emergence occurs. And this is what Nora Bason named aphani poiesis. Aphani means hidden, and crypto means also hidden. So cryptography is this hidden language, this hidden protocol that gives the opportunity for emergence. And emergence is unpredictable. But if the conditions are such that we have this space of trust, this space of abundance, the emergence is what we are all hoping for this beautiful new world that is approaching.
Absolutely, you know, and as you tackled, like Radhika this morning, this trust, yes, issue, which actually blockchain can enable. You know, it gives me hope that, and I'm experimenting with several social networks on blockchain in which we can incentivize, yes, more truthfulness, more trust, and this embedded accountability for us to act better in the world, to better the world. The question is, do you think we will succeed to harness that, as you call it, hive mind for a better world, which we could employ instead of, let's say, as you mentioned, yes, the classical consulting institutions, the McKinseys of the world, in order to build that regenerative world in the institutions which we have today. How would we do that?
How do we do that? First, the hive mind is this collective emergence, that collective intelligence emerges that is emerging. And intelligence means interligere or interligere. That means intertwined. And it's not only the intertwining of ideas, it's the unity of people. It's the new construction of our society. That is how this collective intelligence is emerging. But I would add something from a Marshall McLuhan perspective. What Marshall McLuhan said is that each time that we are faced with complexity, humanity creates a new language from which new social organizations emerge. This happened with speech, this happened with writing and maths in Sumeria 5,000 years ago. The other language is science, the other language is computing, the other language is intelligence. These are the 6 languages that Marshall McLuhan and Robert Logan coined. But now we have this new language that is crypto, this is a hidden language. And languages evolve, have a co-evolution with the technology, but also have quantum leaps in social organizations, in culture and consciousness. So what is emerging right now from this hidden new language is new social systems. The DAO, for example, is a very primitive new organizational system that is emerging, right? But we're going to see, since we are in an exponential era in the next 2 decades, this co-evolution between language, new social organizations, a quantum leap in awareness and consciousness, and the possibility of creating this collective intelligence that is distributed, decentralized, and enhanced in real time. So what this technology brings is the possibility of imagination. What we're going to see in the next two decades is probably unimagined right now, right? Since we go through or beyond this threshold of trust.
Yes, I'm sure that the best is yet to come, and we cannot even imagine it today. However, I'm going to push a bit of more imagination, so because I really want to leave the audience with hope and also with more food for imagination. But what I sense, what transpires clearly from our conversation here, and it was a very brief conversation. Usually, we indulge in hours of conversation because when I talk to you, it's wow. So then definitely, because these are deep conversations. But one definite thing which transpires is the need for education. I mean, even the terms and the language, yes, which we use, many of the terms which you expressed here require, yes, readings and deep study, which people are trying to avoid in the, let's call it the TikTok era, yes, of instant gratification and quick thoughts, which can build on each other in avalanches of, let's say, discord, yes, with the social networks are like that. And I do not mean that we shouldn't disagree with each other, but we can disagree in a respectful and more logical way if we come from an educated perspective. And especially in the crypto world, of course, the crypto world has gathered a lot of revolutionaries like us. Yes, so I'm there also because of this, because I was looking for ways of doing better governance and enabling society to deploy that hive mind. Also as a scientist, also, of course, now supporting entrepreneurs like Charles Hoskinson at Cardano to deploy that kind of social innovation in the world. However, also the crypto world has attracted a lot of people who want to make a quick buck and are just judging this world by how high did a certain token go or how low, and if their gratification cannot be so instant. We are here in the long run, and I think this is a very important thing and point to make. And I do not know if you want to say a few things about your envisioned, speaking of knowledge tokens, merit tokens, and how they can actually harness society and incentivize it for more education.
Yeah, thank you. Great question. I think we are experiencing the emergence of a new anthropological space that is based on knowledge and collective intelligence. What blockchain brings, or the future of blockchain brings, is the possibility of coining proof of knowledge tokens. Each token can be a trustful relational knowledge center aligned with some behavioral purpose. What I think the new conscious technology is trying to capture is to move away from that extractive and collapsive paradigm towards a regenerative paradigm. So probably unconsciously, what we are creating is the patterns and principles of protocols into the code that make this new system regenerative. Because if it's copied from the old extractive, competitive, and degenerative system, it collapses. So unconsciously, what we are building into the protocol are these patterns and principles. What proof of knowledge tokens can bring is a registry of what the education that you put forward, since each token can measure the flow of the cognitive and behavioral patterns in space and time. So what you have is
so enabling us to become the better ones. Okay, I see that. Oh, sorry, I didn't want to interrupt. I wanted to underline that. Yes.
Exactly. We can measure behavioral data, cognizance data, connectedness, community relationship, integration, allurement, shared values, right? And what the technology provides or will provide is the possibility of this measurement coined in a trailing experience of the cognitive trail of each person that then can be aggregated into a collective intelligence. So now you can understand where the knowledge is and how to aggregate that knowledge into a hive mind.
Amazing. And yeah, go ahead.
And move that into agency. What we need, and you mentioned Daniel Schmachtenberger, what he brings is this capacity of sovereignty, right? The capacity of sense-making, intelligence, and agency coming together. And if you have that capacity overarching a hive mind, imagine the possibilities. Where
absolutely.
This decentralized intelligence will be able to cope with the exponentiality and the complexity of these times, this adjacent possible that is coming stampeding towards us, right, in terms of planetary boundaries, including climate change and loss of biodiversity, artificial intelligence, the collapsible systems. This complexity, right, now is triggering civilization to create this new language, the seventh language of humanity based on crypto.
Wow, amazing. And because of course we were talking tokens, even if they are knowledge tokens, but they embed that value. I really loved when Nico was talking about the time tokens, so as NFTs are, so many people do not have the money, but they have the time, so they contribute with their lives. So this is real value. Yes, and if I contribute with bettering my life, bettering my knowledge, and in this way embracing values, and I understand that through these knowledge tokens, I can be also incentivized. I can also be somehow measure, how much I bettered myself, and get a sort of merit there. So maybe we can incentivize the world in a different way through a meritocracy that comes from us becoming the better people. not to be confused with what's happening with the social credit. So it's completely different thing. Just wanted to underline that. Go ahead. Yes.
I love what you say, but I challenge you that to imagine purpose or intention tokens. We have time tokens, which is easy to measure. We have merit tokens or effort tokens, but then in the future, I think we could measure purpose tokens. What is the purpose of the aggregation of different purposes into a DAO, for example? And we've talked about this there, decentralized autonomous regenerative enterprise, right? Probably the DAOs today are based on an old system. What if we bring into the protocol the Patterson principles of regenerative behavior, so that enterprise just thrives into regeneration?
And just to spell it out a bit, so these DAOs are the decentralized autonomous organizations in which people can actually cluster, according to those incentives and the focus. So if I have a certain interest, let's say to deforestation and to support that part, I can find the community there through my focus and then get focus tokens and purpose tokens and so on and so forth. So I think, so there are many ways for this regenerative finance to spearhead such movements, I would call them. Of course, your vocabulary is much more advanced. I always, get your suggestions for more readings and so on and so forth. So we will have, unfortunately, and it's really cruelly short time for us. We have exceeded our time. So I wanted, maybe in 1 minute, if you want to sum up or a concluding thought of what's to come. Is it good? Will we be able to actually achieve it?
Yes, I think things are going to get darker before they get brighter. I think we need this transition. I think people like us need to think ourselves as bridges between this decentralized, invisible world that is already there and the centralized paradigm that is slowly collapsing. We need to be teachers. We need to be bridgers. But this is happening in an invisible, decentralized way, but it's occurring in an incredible exponential way. If you look at the time frame of change of the last years, the exponentiality of growth of Cardano, for example, not to mention Bitcoin, etc., but other than are not yet in the focus because they are not so currency driven, but impact driven, And I think this is a garden that we need to take care of. I think the conditions are there. And a lot of people are putting focus into this happening, the end of scarcity and the beginning of the era of abundance.
Fantastic. So yes, indeed. First, the old system is unraveling and we are contributing to that, of course, through our work. And as such, yes, there will be a period of a bit of transition, which is uneasy. You call it first, it's going to get darker. But I think we are positioned, to smoothen this transition, and the more and the faster we proceed with the education, with the new incentives, with the new structures, that in which the current system can, let's call it like a lifeboat, so we have the lifeboat there, and people can go with their focus into the new world. Maybe through the metaverse, why not? Let's meet there and recreate the world. Yes. Thank you so much, Ernesto. Thank you for this exciting conversation, and thank you again for the invitation, Radhika and colleagues.
Hi. I think we're now wrapping this up, are we?
Unless there are questions or but I think it's kind of time for us. So I really thank you for allowing me to exceed my time.
Not at all. It's been such a great pleasure, Mihaela and Ernesto. I think I could sit here talking and listening to you probably need at least another 10 hours, but we don't have time, and we'll have to table this for another day and another time. But really, thank you both from really the bottom of my heart, because I think this concluding fireside chat has been just so enlightening and so beautiful. And I think the concept of being the bridges, the gateways to a better world, to facilitate, to be able to coordinate and collaborate on this better future for the whole world is truly such an uplifting note for us to end this beautiful summit that Minnie and I have been thrilled to envision and put together and bring together all of you as great change makers and minds who are architecting this future for all of us. So thank you very, very much for both of you. And, I think we will transition to our closing, Minnie. I have my heart full, my mind full.
I wish this wouldn't have ended. It's actually ended soon.
It ended too soon, right? I mean, pinch me, everything, all my cells are alive. And I feel like everything is burning with a wonderful glow. And I think just each and every one of our speakers, our panelists, our opening fireside chats, our panels, each and every one so thought-provoking, so insightful, and really such an amazingly dynamic discussion about key topics that are really underpinning the future that we have to expect with advanced technologies as the base, which is the merge between blockchain and AI and beyond. So I think that this is, hopefully we're scratching the iceberg, just the tip of the iceberg with this, and with many more exciting discussions on this topic to come. So Minnie, thank you again from the bottom of my heart for being my co-host, my dear friend, my collaborator on this incredible summit journey. We'll have to do it again, round 2 sometime.
We do. And I think let's not forget, there have been more angels who have helped us in this journey. We do want to call out Neha, TiE staff, Neha, Rushali, Vish, who's been our superstar energy burner, and has been really helping us all through this journey. AGK, who could not be here, our president, the whole Frame staff, who has been working so diligently with us in this whole panel the entire time. So really thank you. And also our board members who really stepped up, Anita, Anand, and who really were helping us in every which way when we reached out to them. So really shout out to the entire TiE team who without you, we couldn't have put this together or would have gone through together. So really thank you.
And I'll just add one more thank you to all of our sponsors, our loyal and continuing sponsors, our annual sponsors, as well as our event sponsors. We could not have done it without your support. We truly appreciate all of the voice of support and encouragement that our sponsors give us, and this allows us to bring the best of the best. It's the best of breed of all things in emerging technologies. This is what TiE is all about, and we continue to keep the burning flame of entrepreneurship alive across all these many impactful technologies. So thank you again to all of our sponsors and to TiE as a whole. So with that, I think we'll bid you goodbye for now.
Yep.
Bye. Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye, everyone. Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.